All right. So you can add special effects with the text. If you ever want to re-edit the text, make sure you have the text tool selected, make sure you have the layer selected, and then just click anywhere on the text and the field will reactivate. All right. If I want to add some outlines or something on this text to make it stand out more, instead of selecting each individual letter and trying to add a stroke under edit, there's a better way to do it. If you go up to layer and go to layer style right here, you can select different effects. If I check stroke and change the color right here to something brighter that shows up, I'll do yellow. All right, then I can change the size. I can change the opacity. I can also add things like an outer glow. All right, you see already how much better that stands out? You can do this with shapes or anything on a layer. All right, stroke. You can do drop shadows, bevel and emboss, make things look like they're 3D. Okay. If you decide you don't want that, you simply uncheck the box and it goes away. The other way to access it is if you go to the layer itself and double click not on the name of the layer, because that'll make it think you want to change the name. Just click somewhere down off to the side. Yeah, see, it still thinks I'm trying to do that. It brings it up that way too. If I check this and then double click on the name, it'll bring up more options. So I can actually change the direction of the light source, change the amount of depth, the size, etc. All right, so layer style is something you're probably going to want to use a lot of as well, particularly with the text tool. All right. Path selection and direct selection, those have to do with the pen tool. You don't really need to worry about that. The shape tool, this is going to draw a vector-based shape. You can either do rectangles, circles, or lines, or there's also a custom shape tool, which lets you, draw different things and it'll fill it with an outline and a color. You can also combine different shapes, do other stuff with them. I haven't really played with shapes that much, to be honest. But I do know they are vector-based, so you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with them. All right. But the nice thing about them is that, like, let's say you choose something simple like a rectangle, and you click and drag that. You can actually change the amount of the outline and the color. You can also make it like a dotted line, which is kind of handy. So if you want to do something that involves like cutting something out, I think you can actually draw a path and then make a dotted line go around the path. Like if you wanted to have something on your box where you're supposed to cut something out or punch something out. All right, the hand tool is just purely to scroll through your image if you're zoomed in really close and you don't want to use the scroll bars on the side. The hand tool just does that. And finally, the zoom tool, it's just zooming in and out, nothing extreme. Holding down the Alt key zooms out, and it just, or you can change them up here in the options bar. I just use Control Alt plus or minus, but whatever you want to do. All right, the last thing I want to talk about today that is pretty important is the whole concept of the paste into function. All right. There's a way to fill an image, fill a whole selection with an image and have it masked. Like, for example, let's say I wanted to put not a color or a gradient on this side of my box, but an image, like a photo or something that I found online. There's a way that I can bring, like if I tried to do this normally, let me bring in a new image to show you what I mean. All right. Let's say I want to put this, instead of cutting him out, let's say I want to have part of the background in there too. If I try to bring this in and place it, I can scale this up, edit, transform, scale. But look at the problem I'm having. I don't know exactly where it's going to fit. I'm kind of squashing and stretching this in order to get it the right size. And I've got extra room on the corners that I've got to go back and try to get rid of because it's kind of bleeding off the edges. So it's not ideal. The other way to do it is to do a paste into. So here are the steps. Step 1, go to the image that I'm wanting to paste. Hit Control A to select all, Control C to copy to the clipboard. Now I go to where I'm going to paste to. Let me go back down to my template layer, which, as always, I'm leaving blank. Hit the magic wand, select the side of the box I'm trying to populate. Instead of just pasting, Control V, I'm going to go to Edit, Paste Special, Paste Into. Now this puts Robin in this side of the box, but watch what happens when I move him. All right, the area is masked off. So now when I scale this up, I don't have to worry about cleaning up the edges. I can kind of do that. Yep. I do. I have some that I can put up and show. Yes, that's a great question. I usually do show people other examples. I meant to do it Monday, but we just ran out of time. I'll tell you what, I will do that tomorrow. Does that sound good? Okay. Tomorrow I will show you past examples of this project. Some good ones, some bad ones. just to give you a range of what to do. Thank you, Sean. That's a great question. All right, then all I do is hit enter, and there it is. Now what I can do is I can get the opacity of the layer, slide it down to kind of fade it back if I need to, and then I can put other text and other things on top of this if I want. All right, so that's paste into. It's dull because I just explained that I went up here to opacity, the opacity of the layer, and I slid it down. If I just, so like, yeah, any layer that you have, you can change the opacity to. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes you just want to do it temporarily because you want to see through it. Other times you want to push things back and make them kind of faded so that you can put other stuff on top of it and it won't compete visually. Yep. Well, I don't know what you mean by cohesive. Well, there's several factors that you got to think about with that. Number one, you have to think about style. Like, for example, I am doing this Batman box here. I am choosing images that all come from one particular cartoon so that all of the artwork kind of fits together. It's all got the same aesthetic to it. If I was just doing a generic, and I've had students do this, so they do a generic Batman box and they're mixing up images from the movies and the cartoons and all the other stuff, and nothing matches, and everything looks really, and nothing is unified. The other thing you need to keep in mind is unity based on things like color and shape. That's where your elements and principles of design come into effect. Like, you can create a sense of rhythm by repeating similar elements, and you can unify things. So think about, how can I use things like color palette or similar shapes? Do you remember when I showed you the B movie stuff, the first, like on Monday? And I said how all these different things were unified because they all use similar shapes, similar colors, right? Similar fonts, right? So the key to creating unity in a design is you want to have things that work in harmony together. So pick colors that work well together. Or you could even, like, if you have certain colors within images that you have, you can use the eyedropper tool, select certain colors and reuse them in other places so that it will actually support and enhance the image, the colors and the images you have on your box. So think about how elements of design can be used to unify things. So shapes, like, for example, if I was doing SpongeBob as a theme, one of the things that I would try to do is find shapes that help define the theme, but also repeat. Like, you ever noticed in SpongeBob in the background, even though they're in the ocean, there's always these weird little like Hawaiian flowers everywhere, right? They're like just cartoony, like, you know, they're everywhere. All right. I would like think about something like that. And I would like, okay, if I ever have a area where I've got text or something, I'm going to put one of those little flowers there, almost like an asterisk, to get people's attention. You know what I mean? So this is why, you know, once you choose your theme, you got to really think about what it is like. And for this Batman thing, one thing that I would do is I would probably get and I actually have this in the folder. I would get like a bat symbol. Like, you see this symbol up here, right? Or this blank one. I would actually take this, open it up, right? This is perfect. Now I can take this and actually bring it in. Oh, let's see, it's really big. I have to scale it down. But I can repeat this. Edit, transform, scale. I can put this on several parts of my box. I would bring this down here, and I would put text inside here. And anywhere I have text, instead of just putting it in a random shape, I'd put it in a bat or something. And that would help unify things, like repeating that bat shape or something, right? Or I'd make my own, okay? So, yes, I am showing you basically just random techniques for how to use Photoshop, but I'm not, Photoshop, again, can't tell you how to be a good designer. That all comes from your own brain and your own creativity. And this is what I said to you on Monday, right? Like, anybody can learn how to just take an image like this and drag it into a box, okay? That's not design. That's just taking an image that you find and slapping it down. It's how you get different elements and arrange them and make decisions about color and shape and line and how you bring them all together. That's what a good design is. That's when you see successful examples from this assignment, that's what sets it apart is, you know, if you're just taking, I know students that they will literally use this paste into technique that I just showed you. They'll use it 4 times and they'll just slap 4 different images on the side of a box and put a McDonald's logo on it and consider themselves done. And like in one class period, they say they're finished. They haven't thought through anything. They haven't thought through why they chose the images they chose. They just slapped stuff on a box and said, okay, I'm done. And it takes me a while to explain to them that that's not what design is. Okay? You need to actually take individual elements and find a way to combine them in a creative way. All right? You can't, if you just take other people's artwork and stick it on a box, that's just plagiarism. And I know that that seems like a fuzzy line because we are using other people's assets on this assignment because we don't have the time to make our own. But I think there's still a way to use other people's art and combine it and use it in a way that makes it more your own instead of just relying on what other people have done. And that's probably the hardest lesson that I have to try to explain on an assignment like this is what's the difference between plagiarism and, you know, original thought. I don't even know if I'm making sense right now with what how I'm explaining. Okay. All right. So the bell's going to ring. I'll stop now. We've got just a few more little short things to finish tomorrow. We probably won't even take all period. Yeah, you could be designing stuff on paper right now at home. All right.